Welcome to Backyard Cigars, and your eyes are not deceiving you. This is the one and only A Flor Dominicanas Andalusian Bull. And as I was explaining to someone earlier, the cigar has been, I guess I may have used the word controversial, but it's not so much controversy as it is disappointment for some folks, while other people have had great experiences with this cigar. And first off, I'm going to tell you that this was purchased by me back in 2018. It was a fresh batch that had just arrived at my local BMM. And they informed me that they would only get a certain amount, so they offered me two at, I think it was $20 a pop. So I bought the two because I knew how difficult it was to get a hold of this cigar. And I always wanted to try it. Not so much do a review on it, but save it in my humidor as I have for the last 2 years. In the humidor, 6566 RH. Was not really planning on even smoking it this year. But I've heard so many people talk about how it's lately been just so disappointing to smoke this cigar. And then on the other hand, I've heard from a group of people who have told me it's wonderful. It's everything you expect it to be and more. Having won Cigar of the Year in 2016 was a major victory for La Flor Dominicana. Andalusian Bull measures in at 6.5 by 64 ring gauge. It sports an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper. It has a Cuban seed Dominican binder. And then it has filler from the Dominican Republic, Pelo de Oro, which is a strain of Dominican tobacco, as well as a Criollo 98, I believe. And so the filler is Dominican, the binder is Dominican, the wrapper is Ecuadorian grown. I'm going to smoke a little bit more, even though I'm about an inch in, and I'll try to start off with some simple notes. I want to say I've been having some issues with the draw. It just hasn't really opened up the way that I envisioned. And I gave it a little extra clip, flat cut guillotine, and it really still hasn't opened up to the point where I feel comfortable with it. The burn line was a little wavy, and now it's starting to correct itself, and it's starting to look pretty good. Flavor wise, I'm just getting earthy tobacco. Smells pretty good. Nothing to brag about, nothing to write home about. I expected more smoke output, but I'm not going to hold that against the cigar. It may just take some time to really get this baby off the ground, as has been the case with some of the larger ring gauge cigars that I've reviewed. Not getting much, folks. Not getting much at all. So I'm just going to take a little more time with it before I pass any judgment, because I really don't have anything to go on other than the things that I've read and heard. And I take that with a grain of salt, because I've never smoked this before, and I know that our palates vary, so I have no bias against the cigar whatsoever. I'm just going to go into this blindly, in the sense that If it's gonna be good, it's gonna be good. If it's not, then it's not. Many folks have claimed that La Flor Dominicana kind of slipped after it won the award in 2016. Started rushing to meet the demand for the cigar, and that quality took a hit on that production. Instead of focusing on really putting forward a great cigar, many have claimed that that was not the most important thing when making the cigar. The most important thing, they claim, was putting the cigar out, making sure that a lot of people got a chance to try it. And even then, I don't find that to be the case. I don't find this is probably one of the hardest cigars to find online or even at your local shop. And of all the cigar lounges that I've been to, I've never seen this on the menu. Maybe it's out there somewhere. Maybe every now and then people get a hold of it. But it really has proved, for me at least, in my observation, in my research, to be one of the hardest cigars to obtain. And with that, I'm going to take another puff and tell you what I'm thinking. I gave it another little clip because the draw was still a little tight. The burn line goes in and out, but it corrects itself, so not a major issue. It's supposed to be a $15, $16 cigar. That's what it's supposed to be. That's the MSRP. But in a lot of cases, even myself, I overpaid a couple bucks for it at my local shop. Not a big deal if it's worth it, right? And going in, I didn't know if it was worth it or not. I only knew that I had to get my hands on it so that I could at least try it and say if it was or if it wasn't. I didn't know that I would be sharing that experience with you when I bought it, but I'm kind of glad it turned out that way, because this way we can all talk about it later on. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've read a lot of stuff on the cigar. There's a lot of information about the cigar out there. Everything from what went into the shape, the figurado shape, the style of the cigar, the band, the inspiration Lito Gomez had for it, and his roots in Spain and so forth. The bullfighter, the green and gold, it's all really nice. It looks great. The blend on paper seems great. Right now, I am in about an inch in, and I haven't really gotten much from the cigar other than earthy tobacco. Smoke output has increased, and as I mentioned before, with the additional clip, the draw improved. So it's been in the humidor for 2 years. It wasn't necessarily my intention to age it. It was just something that I figured I'd put it in this humidor to give it some time for a special occasion, for something that I felt was worthy, a worthy moment to smoke. Things have changed since then. Nowadays, you've got to just really enjoy every day that you have of good health and enjoy life to the fullest. I mean, you should do it anyway, but more so in the current climate, you kind of want to treat yourself a little bit more. I know it was the case early in March of this year, and now it has become the case heading into the fall. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time with it before I come back to you again, unless I have something worthy to know. I wish that I could tell you just how disappointed I am. So I'll try. This is like going to see your favorite baseball team getting good seats, and then you're in the second inning and the score is 15-0, and your team's starting pitcher has already been removed. An insurmountable lead, and you suddenly feel that the only reason you're there is because you love your team. But at least in that instance, you can say you're there because you love your team and you support them, and you're willing to watch them get massacred, despite the fact that you paid $150 for your ticket. You know that it happens sometimes, that your team isn't always going to win. But at a baseball game, you have, maybe not now, but you have the sounds of the stadium. You've got the cold beer and the hot dogs. You've got the camaraderie. You can get the camaraderie while you're smoking a cigar. But you won't have many positive things to say if you're smoking this cigar. Because the flavor profile, the closest thing that I could compare it to is when I was a kid, I was at a little amusement park, one of these home style amusement parks, and it was a fair. I got pushed to the ground accidentally, and I ended up with a mouthful of hay. And you get that feeling, that's what you got here. It's earthy tobacco, yes, but it's not pleasant. It's not pleasurable. It's you kind of want to drink something and get the flavor out of your mouth because it's just not working. Right there, it was just nothing. It smells good. I mentioned before, it's nothing to brag about, but it's got a decent smell at the very least. But that isn't making up for anything in any way. I'm giving it the old college try and just trying to see if maybe somewhere in here there is some kind of note, some kind of flavor that will make me think that perhaps, since there's a lot left of this cigar, that there's some promise in here waiting for me. But as the minutes go by, I realize more and more that winning Cigar of the Year, getting your cigar hyped to the point where it's treated like a bottle of Pappy, isn't all it's cracked up to be. Not if you can't maintain that, not if you can't continue to produce that level of quality. Now, I've never had that award-winning vintage, so I can't say for certain that it was even deserving of the award when it won it in 2016. So I won't comment on that, but I will comment on this one that was purchased in 2018. No, nothing, guys, nothing. And when you pay $20 for a cigar, you want something out of it. I mean, it doesn't have to be the greatest cigar that you've ever smoked, but it has to give you a certain amount of pleasure. It has to give you a certain level of quality that you can sit back and really enjoy. And this isn't happening right now. And it's sad. It's really sad. You know, I'm about half an inch away from this, I guess, the secondary band here, and nothing has changed at all. This is not looking good at all. It's just so bland. It really is so bland. And I have to smile and keep a straight face here, because I spent this money and I expected something in return for it. And I'm not getting it. And I'm not saying you guys out there won't get it if you happen to get lucky. Maybe you score or happen to have a 2016 vintage La Flor Dominicana. I don't know. Maybe that might be it. Maybe if you've had those great experiences, it was with that. I never got to try that. It has no finish. There's absolutely no finish. Nothing lingers. I'm gonna cut this short, guys. If by chance, by some miracle, this happens to turn around, it's sinking like the Titanic right now. I mean, that's how I feel. But if by chance, I'll include it in the notes. But this is a wrap for me right now. And I'm sorry that I had to go through this, but perhaps if there are any individuals out there who are looking to score this cigar, do your research on it. Talk, if you're buying it from your local shop, talk to them about it. Try to find out if you can get at least a decent deal for the cigar if you're gonna buy it no matter what. Don't overpay for this. It's not worth it. I do feel that there are certain cigars that are worth overpaying for just a tad bit, but no. Capital N, capital O. No. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another Backyard Cigar where I just told you exactly how I felt, regardless of any hype associated, or regardless about anything I read. If I would have loved this, you would have known about it. Didn't happen. Thank you guys.